Everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about my 3 favorite specs or features of this guitar, the SE Silver Sky from PRS. Now this has been out for about a year, maybe a little bit over a year. January 11th of 2022 was the release date, and I got mine, I think it was the following week, and that was the first run, and it was great. I think maybe like 3-4 months later, I had to get rid of it. Was kind of disappointed that I did, so I'm happy to have this one back. Before that, I did have the Core Silver Sky, which was awesome as well. So I want to share kind of 3 of the features that they both kind of share, and that I think are really great for any beginner guitar, anyone who's gigging. They're just modern features that I think are really cool. So let's talk about the first one. And the first one are the pots. Now the pots are low friction, so that means they're really easy to turn compared to maybe some of the other pots that might be in other guitars. Now, I know some of you might think that's kind of cheap, and maybe you feel like you might hit the pot, like the volume pot, and your volume would go down and you wouldn't even know it, especially while you're playing. But I think it's actually a bonus, because when you're playing and singing, you can ride that volume knob quite a bit. You can dump it all the way down right away. I think it's really beneficial, rather than having to turn it with a lot of friction. Also, like using your pinky and then hitting the strings for some swells. That is really cool feature. Now I know that one of the EVH models does have low friction pots on it, and there's obviously a reason why Eddie did that. It's just a really cool feature in my opinion. Number 2, it's the neck. So the neck, I know a lot of you might think that it is a bit thick, which I would agree with you, especially for an SE model. I think maybe they could have gone a little bit slimmer, but granted, this is a signature guitar and it has to pass John's approval in order for it to get out there. So that means it has to fit really well in his hands, which are huge. Big thumbs, big palm, big fingers. So a bigger neck is going to work better for him. So I do know that they took it down just a little bit. So I think it's about like 0.83 to 0.97 inches all the way up and down the neck. So starting at the nut, going up here to about the 12th fret. And that is pretty chunky and pretty big difference going from the nut to about the 12th fret. But something that I think is really cool is they took off a lot of the shoulders. So that's like right in here. So it doesn't fill up kind of this part of your hand as much as it does like the palm. And I think that is really comfortable for people, because if it filled up more of the shoulders, you wouldn't be able to wrap your thumb as much. And because of that, I think it's more accessible for a lot of players with average sized hands. Like I don't have big hands, but I can still wrap my thumb over, and I don't feel like I have to change my playing style as much between this guitar and like my Mike Lowell guitars, which are much slimmer necks. And let's talk about something else in the neck that I really like, and that is the fretboard or fingerboard, however you want to call it, the width of it. Not the thickness, but the width. So it starts out at kind of a vintage spec down here at the nut, which is 1.625 inches or something like that. And then it gets a little bit wider as you go up. So like at the last fret, I think it's like 1.8 something inches. So there's a lot more real estate on the sides of the string, especially the high E and the low E. So you're not slipping off of the fretboard when you're playing and doing like your vibrato and stuff. But what else it does is it gives you a little bit wider string spacing. So like when I get up here and I'm doing like vibrato or bending, I'm not feeling like I'm crowded, which there's some guitars that have a narrow nut, like a, I don't know, like a 50s telly type of nut, and there's not as much real estate going up here. So it makes it really comfortable to play. You're not going to be crowded by the other strings, and bending, you're going to feel like the string goes right under your finger. Like the next string up is going to go right underneath your finger. So it's going to feel super comfortable. I think that's a great feature. It's more modern than what you would see on a vintage spec type of S-style guitar. The last thing I want to talk to you about are the pickups. Now, these are probably more obvious things that people gravitate towards, no pun intended. With this guitar, these are the 635 JM S pickups, and I think they nailed the feel, the vibe of them. Definitely not the output compared to the core. Having the core model, those are a little bit hotter than the Lawler Blondes that I have in my Mike Lowell guitar, but they're also not as hot as this one. So this one, it's like in the 7K range or something like that, and the core is in like the 6K range, something like that. Not that like that makes a huge difference, but I can notice the difference quite a bit. But they nailed the vibe. I bet you that if you close your eyes and you listen to John playing the Silver Sky versus a Fender Strat, you can hear the difference. There's something hi-fi about these pickups and something balanced and sweet that these pickups have versus some sort of Strat. Now, I think that these pickups have really good note separation, but they're not ice picky, which they claim they are not, which I agree with them. There's a sweetness to the high end. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the magnets that they're using. I do know that the volume pot, so they use like a, I don't know if it's like a 300K volume pot right here. And then they use a resistor, sorry, to take it down to 250K. I don't know if there's a little bit of magic there, but these are sweet in the high end. There's plenty of low end, and I think there's a lot of string definition. And what I mean by that is you can hear the, especially on the wound strings, you just know you're playing the wound strings. You can hear that kind of fizziness, but it's in the low end, like what John said in the video. There's highs in the low end and lows in the high end, and I agree with him. So I think this is just a really great buy. Those are my 3 favorite features of this guitar, and that's the reason why it's going to be staying around for a little while. So check these out, and as of today, which is June 10th, about 5 days from now, the new SE Silver Sky Maple Neck will be coming to me from PRS. They're letting me borrow it to do some videos. Not sure which color they're going to send, but I'm excited to show you that when it arrives. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and the little bell to be notified when those videos come out. Take care. We'll see you later.